You've all learned to strike first. To be aggressive, not be losers. Taught you to strike hard. Put every ounce of your power behind everything you do. I haven't taught you the third rule of Cobra Kai. No mercy.
Welcome to No Mercy, a Cobra Kai Kickback. My name is Jakob Burrows, and I represent Miyagi-Do. When my student loses, I tell them, you fought with honor, and he didn't. So no matter who won, you're the real winner. Luckily, I never had to face any of that myself, because I won every tournament I ever entered, and I fought a guy to the death once. Of course, if you're fighting to the death, it does matter who wins. So don't lose if you're doing that, like I didn't.
Excellent. All great points. My name is Jim Scampoli. I represent Cobra Kai because I got what I wanted, but at what cost?
That's right. We're here to discuss the season finale of season 1 of Cobra Kai, the 10th episode, titled Mercy, directed by John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberger, written by Josh Heald, John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberger. And, of course, the question on everybody's lips since last week is, what is the name of the Johnny Daniel ship? We talked about it at length, and we've done some digging, and we can confirm, if you had any guesses at home, now's the time. But the official name that we're going with, because we did get to decide, is Lawrence. No, wait.
No,
Russo. I fucked it.
Yeah, you fucked it.
Jim, what is it? It's Russo.
La Russo. So like La Russo, but with the LAWR, like Lawrence. It's actually genius, and it was like staring us right in the face. We didn't make this up. We can't take credit for it. I wouldn't recommend Googling it, but La Russo is the official ship of Johnny and Daniel. I mean, I'm definitely a La Russo. Again, not so much romantically. It's fine if you think that way. I just want them to be best friends and hang out because I feel like they could learn a lot from each other.
I, on the contrary, would recommend Googling it, and I now have a folder on my computer titled La Russo. And again, I'm sorry I messed up the name, but it's because it's literally just one of their last names. But it's La Russo, but spelt L-A-W, like the start of Lawrence. It makes so much sense. It was staring us right at the face. I feel like there should have been a San in there, but you know what? I'll leave it. It's fine. This is good. This is perfect. Much better. So that's it. That's I guess rate and review on iTunes, and we'll pack in this episode. Go to showswhatyouknow.com. Go on, Jim.
One quick question that I was going to ask last week, and I want to ask before we get into the finale here. Would Mr. Miyagi have taken Johnny Lawrence under his wing? He would, right? There's like no question.
You're talking about Johnny Lawrence in the past, or what are you thinking of?
I guess either or, whether it be a down in his luck Johnny Lawrence back in the day after, Kreese tried to choke him, or like nowadays if Miyagi was still around and he'd have to like knock some sense into Daniel and be like, I can teach Johnny. We can find balance.
Well, you got to remember all the hoops we had to jump through for Mr. Miyagi to agree to do anything, though. Like, he wouldn't have agreed to teach Daniel. Like, he wanted them to have no fight. He just wanted to go and talk it out, And he was always the pacifist. Well, not always, but he was always trying to be the pacifist and, like, calm everything down. So I don't know under what circumstances he'd do that.
Well, you're right. I guess I worded it wrong. I guess I don't quite mean teach, but I guess take him under his wing.
Yeah,
because like obviously, I guess I'm kind of leaning into here where we last left Daniel. Daniel shuns Robbie. That's not something Mr. Miyagi would do, even under these circumstances. I do understand that Daniel is also kind of blindsided here, and is this some weird Cobra Kai plan, much like a Terry Silver trying to trick me? Like, are they in on it? Like, is he planted here? So I guess there are some other circumstances that put Daniel where he's at. He does come around anyways, like as we see throughout this finale. But it just started, I was thinking a little bit about that. Or like if Miyagi was around these days and we had Daniel and Johnny going at each other as they are. Obviously, Mr. Miyagi would be that voice of reason that would kind of knock their heads together a little bit and, make it smooth sailing from here on out.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you and I need to write the AU, that stands for alternate universe, fan fiction about how role reversal, Daniel joined Cobra Kai because Johnny hadn't joined it yet. So when he goes to check out that karate place, he joins it, becomes badass, and has no mercy. And meanwhile, Johnny Lawrence is getting bullied at home, and now he's getting bullied in school as well. And he gets taken in by Miyagi. And I can see it. I could see that as an alternate universe, yeah.
Absolutely. I could see it.
Well, let's set that all aside for a second and talk about how I want it all. And I want it now, Jim. I want all of it that is in this episode. And I want it now. Very 80s montage again. The thing, and I know I mentioned this a lot, all of this shit is so, like, American stereotype for us. Like, it's just so strange. All of this is very, like, I don't know, strange to watch because it's so, like, pouring sugar on the churros and everything. Like, that whole montage, every single part of it just feels so hyped up. And a point that my girlfriend raised as well is, like, it is ridiculous that everyone is so into karate, but as we see with this sort of soccer mom who gets super into it, like, there are, like, people get very extreme about stuff like beauty pageants for their children and stuff like that. So why wouldn't there be enough of a niche subculture that these dojos, like, to them, it's the most important thing in the world, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's commented on by Dimitri when he's like, this has been going on for 50 years. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, but this is just, it seems like this is the perfect atmosphere for these people because it's been the most important thing in Johnny and Daniel's lives that we've commented many times, that finals, but now we're back in the environment where to everyone here it's the most important thing. And yeah, everyone's got that subculture or small community where everyone's on the same page, and here we are, we're rooting for under 18 karate.
Yep. And yeah, like, when Daniel shows up, everyone's like, here's the former champ. And, like, everyone applauds. It's not just, like, the board or whatever. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's Daniel LaRusso. And the reason that makes sense to me is that he has all these ads and his branding is, like, all about that, I guess. So that's why people know of him. But it's ridiculous to think that these people, like, yeah, of course, 1984, we all remember that.
And I mean, when we start out, we have, like you said, we have the montage. I mean, I love the joke of the changing of the colors of the mats, but I wonder if logistically there was some reasoning behind it or if it was just the joke. But we got the blue mats, as we had heard about, and they get mentioned again in this episode. And then we have the Cobra Kais hanging out, wondering if, Johnny Lawrence is going to even make it. Bert has a hilarious story. Is he trying? He's buying like a nudie mag, which, I mean, I don't think any kids are going to be getting nudie mags these days. They have cell phones and computers or whatever, but whatever. He's at the convenience store and he sees drunk Johnny, like, pissing on his LaRusso car, having his breakdown after, I guess, he drove drunk away from Daniel's house in the previous episode.
He's already drunk in the previous episode at the end of it, and then he has a bottle here or whatever as well, and he's pissing on the car like he said that he would have driven there. Which is his car now. But yeah, it's, I guess, shows him. And I do, like, Bert is hilarious there when he's like, you didn't mention this until now. Like, yeah, I guess I'm just so used to seeing him drunk and, like, acting weird. It didn't seem like that big a deal. When I don't know why, Johnny's shouting, we're all gonna die, and just throws his bottle. And Bert's just like, yep, business as usual.
Yeah, that's Sensei Lawrence for you.
Yeah.
A great moment. But so, yeah, then they're like, oh, something happened to him. What's going on? But, no, Johnny's not going to miss a fight. He's there. He had a rough night, but he's not going to no-show. And as we heard in the opening clip, we've done the strike first and the strike hard. It's time for no mercy. But I don't know, Johnny, maybe this lesson won't play out to what you want when this is all said and done.
You have no. I'm just trying to think logistically trying to add up the days and this is a pointless exercise, but I can't help it. Like Bert says he saw him last night, right? So we're just assume that that's the same night as what happened before, unless he's just drunk on a different night, which is totally plausible. But I'm just counting in my head of like, well, Miguel told Sam he'd see her Sunday because they were going to train on Sunday. And I'm like, wait, is it Sunday now? Like, right. But would you be training? I definitely got the math wrong, but it just occurred to me that I was like, does this all add up days wise? But also that doesn't matter. And B, he's definitely just drunk on a different night easily too. It's very, very easy to explain that away.
Although, let's see, what's he wearing? Although I guess he would wear similar stuff.
He's got a uniform, man. Jeans and a long sleeve.
Yeah,
anyway, we're wasting time on our finale episode with this. It just struck me for a second.
I mean, at least on the other hand, time-wise, we know that Miguel's been training since like Halloween-ish, and now it's May. So it feels way more plausible as far as a training and being now at a tournament than say the Karate Kid, where like it's Halloween and the tournament's in December. And I mean, I've heard different discussions on the Karate Kid where at least like they do have lip service to Daniel took karate at a YMCA, so maybe at least he had the basics down. But we're not going to get caught up in all that. But at the very least, I give him credit for that. It's been months of Miguel training with Cobra Kai, so it's very plausible that he'd be very confident and skillful here at this point. But I do love that they throw in that guy that does flips and crazy shit.
And so I think I'm going to set aside my qualms about the timing. I'm going to assume it's a different day because I also feel like Robbie wouldn't show up like if it was literally the next day. I feel like he's had to have done some thinking in between, but who knows?
Miguel would have been wasted mere hours ago. So you're right. It's been some time. It's a different day, but you can assume that Sensei Lawrence has been drunk and brooding for multiple days since that happened.
For the duration. He's been on a binge. So Amanda shows up in the Russo living room where Sam and Daniel are both being teenage girls on their phones, and she gets them to go to the tournament because they're sponsors, so they have to go. So they all go, and it's a great turnout. Everyone applauds, like I said, and he gets to see the banner of him doing the kick thing, 84, Daniel Russo.
I love that shot of him looking at the banner, though. I think it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, they do show in the montage, they are putting up banners of different years. So they are laying the seeds for that moment. Like at the beginning, and they have like the 1978. It's like a shot from whoever was in that championship. I mean, you'd have to assume that Johnny has one from the 1983. That would have been nice to see.
Yeah, it would have. But it's not about that right now. Well, he gives a speech about No Mercy. And this is something my girlfriend asked about as well. Like, how do they spin No Mercy as a good thing? And this speech is basically like, this is how we spin No Mercy as a good thing. Like him talking about how life always takes a steaming shit in your mouth or whatever, like he actually says. And like, you gotta shit in life's mouth right back. No mercy. That's what I gather anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's basically you're not gonna get mercy from the real world, so you got to give it right back. And I think that's very plausible, especially to, a group of outcasts, nerds, whatever, people that have been picked on that have now found like a community and some power. Unfortunately, a byproduct of that could be some bitterness and maybe like, all right, now's my turn, motherfucker.
Yep. And so when the tournament starts, he says before, I'm like, no, you're not wearing them, and we know what's coming. He's got the evil geese, the black geese, and they all come marching in and go, Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai. And it's one of those moments where two things strike. You go like, this is so nerdy and ridiculous, and I can't believe that people would cheer for this, but they do, and it's great. And then also, this is exactly that scene from Dodgeball as well. The movie Dodgeball, they come running in exactly the same sort of style.
Oh, I never seen it. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
but also, again, like from a meta outsider perspective, it's nerdy. But in this environment where everyone's on the same page, it's fucking badass.
Yeah, and a cool name for a dojo, like the guy says.
Absolutely.
Um,
Because yeah, I mean, basically throughout this here, which is nice, is that it is like we're tournament now. Like we're not still building the tournament. We're not even playing up other stuff throughout the episode. Like we get right into it. It's a little bit longer of an episode, but it's tourney status now, and we get to see that in the valley, karate still has a community, and we get to see some ass kicking. Because again, Cobra Kai has much better. I mean, no shame on the dude that did choreography for Karate Kid movies, but like the fighting and stuff's way better, obviously, in Cobra Kai.
yeah, and in the very first fight, Miguel does the kick.
Yeah.
Which I guess Johnny taught him, because I mean Johnny must have studied that kick. Besides studying it up close and personal in the tournament in '84, he also must have figured out how to do it and passed it on just as a fuck you, I guess, or because it's a good kick.
And it settles the idea of it being illegal, because it's not illegal. He wins off of it.
Clearly, it's not illegal, so it's fine. But I also feel like in this episode, because the fights are more extreme, I feel like there's a lot of illegal contact. It seems like there's a lot of punches to the face of when someone's on the floor and all this stuff, but everyone's kind of like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I guess this is fine now.
More extreme. Now that we're in the 2000s or the 2010s, it's more extreme now.
You literally have to attack someone with their back turned in order to get a warning for unsportsmanlike conduct, where like what Johnny did in the tournament in the original film was like bad, but he just like attacked his wounded side. Like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm an apologist. Yeah, so there's, like you said, the whole episode is the tournament. We kind of move quickly through some different fights. They keep it very clear by using the sort of stats board from the original, who's progressing and everything. And it's also great that they have, I don't know if real karate tournaments have these rules, but it's just very cinematically clear, like 3 shots and you're out. Like, and it's just very easy to quickly communicate as all these different people move through the ranks. I love that Bert gets his face kicked in.
The build-up's so funny because they're kind of still in his corner, like, yeah, let's do it, Bert. And then the guy does like the first flip, but they're still kind of like, yeah, no, you got this, Bert. Like, yeah, don't worry. And then,
no mercy, Bert. And he just get kicked to the ground immediately. And then the guy goes like 3 points. And I'm like, okay, I guess you get 3 points if the guy can't stand up or whatever. But yeah, I do like that because it does seem like in Cobra Kai that everyone who sticks around just immediately becomes super badass. But it's good to see that, like, as Johnny has said, like, to Miguel, you're my one shot at winning this tournament. Like, they might be picking up on the mental stuff, but they're no champions yet. Miguel just has that killer instinct, man, and like that dedication to keep training when everyone else is goofing off.
He's got that X factor. And then, we get to see Daniel's on the sidelines, but he has those little moments where he's like rooting for Robbie, slowly kind of getting back into it. I mean, that's kind of building as that's going on. And it's even plausible when the flippy, jumpy guy is against Miguel, because Miguel's moving. He's moving on the mat. He's still got some skills. He might not have the same cartwheels and front flips, but he's got the ground game. He still wins.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, just the choices of different opponents and stuff makes sense for showing everyone's varying levels. We get Aisha's fight and her sort of getting patching things up with Sam, which seems to be leading into her Sam picking karate back up because as Aisha said, like, it'd be great to have another girl out there, and you're like, oh yeah. I guess they just let her fight the dudes, huh? It's cool. Yeah, progressive, maybe.
Yeah, it makes sense. She's fighting back, but yeah, she loses to the mom, right? It's
Xander, like in Buffy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and she goes and sits outside. Sam comes out, has a word with her, and I don't remember what they say exactly, but they apologize, and she says the front wedgie was great. Thanks for tearing her a new vagina, etc.
Yeah, some good old bonding. Because it basically comes down to then we have Hawk versus Robbie, or is it first Miguel and
Xander and Miguel.
it potentially could have been Hawk versus Miguel in the finals, right? Although I guess that's kind of like in Cobra Kai and Karate Kid. I think it could have been Johnny versus I forget his face from Cobra Kai. Like Cobra Kai could be owning the whole tournament in the finals,
for sure.
If they didn't have these tempers or these breaking the rules.
Now, what do you think? Would Hawk have won the fight if he didn't break the rules?
I guess he probably would have, right? Is that like the easy out where it's like Hawk doesn't lose face because otherwise they could have just had him beat him, or would that destroy the character and the confidence that Hawk has built up this whole season?
Well, this is better because it shows. I feel like the whole episode is like a climax of Lawrence, of Johnny seeing like he's instilling something in these kids and it's getting out of control for him.
Yeah.
And like when he's trying to teach them something, and I don't think he realizes what's the problem is with any of his teachings. And this, I mean, I've complained a little bit about the convoluted ways that Robbie like ends up as Daniel's student and all of this, but like as far as the emotional arc and what Johnny has to see and go through, it just makes so much sense that he instills all of this stuff in these kids. He sees Hawk totally break the rules and like not care because he's like, what am I going to be, a pussy? I don't care about rules. I don't care about anything. I'm Cobra Kai. Yeah. And his kids cheering for that. And then Miguel as well, when, he says, I found the weak spot, and Johnny's like, yeah, but like we'll win a clean fight or whatever. And it goes against everything else. It has to be his son up there that Miguel is fighting for it to make sense and for him to totally see that this isn't a good thing that it's come to necessarily. So yeah, very bittersweet. And Hawk's, anyway, the point I was making is Hawk kicking this guy from the back is just an aspect of that, really.
Yeah. Just emotional comeuppance for Johnny Lawrence. I do love the bit here about Xander is kind of the person that everyone should be rooting for to win because he's like noble and he's making a nice speech. And meanwhile, like whatever your choice might be, whether it be Robbie or Miguel or Cobra Kai, Miyagi-Do, whatever it might be, it's kind of like another goof on it being just pettiness. Like,
yeah, but Xander, like that speech is so douchey though. Like it's the worst. Like I was there like, it's terrible because he just takes the mic and starts talking about all this like buzzwords. What the fuck is he actually doing to end all of any of these prejudices and all this stuff? It's just like, I don't know, the kid in class who always has a project to donate money to this or that, but isn't actually doing anything of value. I don't know. It's very bad.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. A perfect son for that mother to have.
And then kick that pansy bitch in the face or whatever he says to him when Johnny talks to Miguel. But yeah, so it kind of comes down to we have, Miguel goes to the finals. Hawk, as we mentioned, hits Robbie from behind. So we get to have where Daniel goes to talk to Robbie back in the locker rooms or what have you. And I think this is really important to show like that Daniel is a good dude because he doesn't take the opportunity to shit on Johnny Lawrence. And every moment we've seen this whole show, he's always going to shit on Johnny Lawrence because they have this thing. But when it comes down to him talking to him about like, hey, it's still your dad, and bring up the no such thing as a bad student, just bad teachers. It's things that Daniel should think himself as well, but at least his mind's in the right place when it comes to this kid that he does care about, but he does understand that there's a father-son relationship that he can't change. So I like it a lot. It shows like the real part of Miyagi. And I mean, they throw in the goof of like the clapping your hands together and doing the magic, but I like that. Whether it be you dislike Daniel, love Cobra Kai, love Daniel, hate Cobra Kai, whatever it might be, I think it's just an important because we see Daniel be such a shitbag in a lot of episodes this season that it shows that there's still the values there. Like there's still some self-awareness or common sense.
Yeah, and I like that they do a goof with the clap and the rub because it feels like if they did that now, it would be like Daniel-san is not, even if he's not Daniel LaRusso and he's Daniel-san again, he's still not Mr. Miyagi. Like, he's still got a ways to go. And I feel like maybe we'll see more of that. It's a touchy subject because it's Asian magic, like Asian magic trope, like old Asian magic man trope, which you have to handle carefully. But I still feel like there's an opportunity to get back into that in the future of Cobra Kai, but we'll leave that for future discussions. That's why, similarly, when he does the stand up on one arm type thing, he has to fall over. When he does it previously, he can't do the clap and then do it now. It'd just be like, that would be just for the sake of it. And instead they puncture it and make it a comedic moment, which is good. I like it.
Yeah. And then in the midst of this, before the showdown, I mean, Miguel and Sam have like a quick back and forth, and there's like things are not copacetic. He kind of ends it with like, yeah, you see what I do to Robbie, like very un-Miguel in a lot of ways, but this is No Mercy Miguel. So I think that's what we call him when he turns to the dark side.
No Mercy Miguel. So good. We need to coin that. But also, I wanted to call out in the fight between Hawk and Robbie. It's one of these moments that isn't like as great, I think, when he's like Daniel-san's like, he's not focused, and he stands up and goes, "Remember what you learned, Robbie." And Robbie looks at him, nods, and then he has a flashback. And I wasn't thinking of this, but just last episode, I was complaining about flashbacks to like the previous episode where we were saying flashbacks to like Karate Kid or Karate Kid Part 2 or whatever makes sense. But like he just breathes and there's a flashback. And maybe the problem is I watch it with subtitles because the subtitles just say in parentheses flute music. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, I get it. Subtitles. There's flute music and he's searching his insides for balance and all of that. And he has a montage and then suddenly he kicks ass. And like, it does make sense for the story, but just the execution of it, I roll my eyes a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you could have just had him, you could have done almost everything the same, like even had the music cue, and then just not have the flashback, because it really is literally just a flashback. Like it's him closing his eyes on a tournament mat, and then him in the woods closing his eyes. So it's not it's not like he's even thinking of, not that I would even like it as any differently, but it's not even him like doing a cool move or something, you know? But I love that music cues.
Yeah, sure. So I guess we're up at the last fight where Daniel's saying like, you don't have to fight. And he's like, I have to face him sometime. And I guess he's talking about his dad, even though he's not fighting his dad, but he kind of is. So they get up to the final fight, and
well, we have to give a shout out to Daniel Russo's going to coach. Daniel LaRusso's going to coach. That's great.
Crowd goes fucking mad. So I mean, for Johnny, this is like bananas because he never got an explanation of like, oh no, I didn't know that he like, because Daniel knows that he wasn't conspiring with that Robbie wasn't conspiring with Johnny because of the reaction. But Johnny doesn't know that Daniel wasn't manipulating his son, right? Like, he has no reason to know that. So when he shows up as the coach, you kind of have to forgive Johnny for going like, what the fuck? You like seem like you've intentionally stolen my son?
Yeah. I mean, I guess he could maybe read a little bit into it, like he wasn't training him before. It's like, but yeah, you're right. Like, from his point of view, like, what the fuck is going on?
But then that's what happens when he doesn't have like a handle on what's going on with his son. Sometimes they get coached by your karate rival. I'm sorry, Johnny.
Yeah, I do like they get to have a quick little, you know, they kind of walk up to each other off mat, but like still in that All Valley moment, like in front of the crowd. And I think that he's like, Daniel has that final line where he's like, "Are you kidding? Like, this will never be over." And it's like, yeah, you're right. This is not ending ever.
Yeah, we want more seasons, damn it. So they do the fight, and I'm honest, I'm struggling to remember like all the beats of the fight. It's a very good fight. I did feel like when I think Robbie gets the first point, and then at some point Robbie does the super kick. And that's when I remembered, like, in the forest when he's like, even Daniel-san is never, once in my 20s, I almost did this kick. And all we got here was like, well, he skateboards, so, like, he can do the super kick, I guess.
I guess to be fair, his super kick doesn't quite match because he doesn't do a full, like, handstand, but he does, like, out of necessity because he's got the bad shoulder. So he was able to put his body on the good arm and then do the double kick. Like, at least it makes sense in the fight. Whereas when they're setting it up, I'm like, how the fuck? Because you almost picture where it's going to be like when Daniel's doing the crane as they're like lining up, like all of a sudden Robbie just goes on one hand.
Hang on. Like, I need some time to set up this balance thing. Hang on. But it is pretty badass when Robbie fights with one arm and is going toe to toe with Miguel still. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. He gives him he like Daniel calls time too. He kind of gives him another opportunity to be like, look, you don't have to do this. Kind of reminiscent. I think doesn't Miyagi actually just talks him into the fight when he's fighting the bad boy of karate, isn't he? Because isn't Daniel like, I just want to give up, forget it, and then he's like, Daniel-san, and he gets back into the fight. So I guess it's different from that.
Jim, we don't talk about that film.
Yeah, but yeah, Robbie stays in, finds balance, but then it's you start to see where we're going because you can't use your super duper setup win the day move for just a tie point. You have to save that move for the winning point. Exactly. So now that
Daniel didn't teach you that.
Yeah. But I mean, there's enough caveats here where even though I feel like Miguel has to be, a better karate technician, although I guess Johnny Lawrence technically was probably better at karate than Daniel, but Daniel still won. But they give there's a lot of safe face things happening because Robbie's already hurt, then it's re-aggravated, and he goes after his weakness. So there's a lot of kind of safe face maneuvers here where even though Robbie loses, much like Daniel says, hey, fought with honor. So he did, no matter what that trophy says.
Yeah, and it's a good thing it wasn't to the death. And Johnny gives him, like, he talks to Miguel and says, like, we want to win, but we got to win right. So there's no need to fight dirty. And like Miguel correctly is like, what? There's nothing dirty about winning. You taught me that. And that's the sort of the point I was getting at before, where like the whole season, it's been like, you can't change course now, Johnny. It's too late. You're going to have to watch this guy beat up your son. And then your son is going to walk away with your childhood karate rival and bond with him. And you're going to be here a winner. So no matter what it says on that trophy, you're a loser.
Yeah. And even like to a certain extent, because we see multiple times, Miguel's mother's in the crowd and she's kind of like, my son, I can't watch. I don't want him to get hurt, but also cheering because he's winning. But in a way, it also is the thing. Part of the reason why she didn't want him to train is because of like the person he's becoming. Yeah. But now it's not as a parent because it's just like, no, he's just really great at what he does and he won a trophy. Like, but she doesn't see the change that's happening. So there's some good stuff playing out there.
At the same time, his grandmother is like, who smoked a joint before arriving, just stands up and cheers. And like, there's a couple of scenes where Miguel's mother seems to be almost flinching, even though Miguel is not the one getting hit. He's like hitting someone else, And I read that kind of as her seeing like, it's very like, I don't feel great, especially considering her backstory, which again was just a line about her, like Miguel's father. Maybe she sees something dark in her son that is, she doesn't want that for him. Like, yeah. So, there's, I saw some of that, but in the end, he gets the trophy. So of course it's a positive.
What matters is he wins. He won.
But I do like that Sam left because like Johnny feels so hollow after that victory. So as a viewer, you're kind of like, man, fuck you, Miguel. Even though Miguel is just doing his best to win a tournament, you're still kind of like, fuck you, Miguel, because you made Johnny feel sad, even though totally not fair. So that's why you're like, yeah, I'm glad that you also feel a bit sad that Sam wasn't there to watch you beat up this other guy,
It is even interesting that he would even think she'd still be there because he was just kind of like, yeah, what should I do to like, he wasn't being like, hey, catch me after the fight, we'll hang out later.
Yeah, and you gotta mention as well, like it's never brought up that Sam like knows or has any opinion about what's going on with Robbie, because Daniel and Robbie's relationship is a lot more developed than Robbie and Sam, obviously, because because for Sam, imagine finding out like, oh, that guy who was hanging out getting taught by my dad, he's apparently the child of his karate rival, and he started working at our car company to trick him into pissing off his own dad, but now we're kind of friends. I don't know. That would be a strange situation. So it's not touched on at all.
Yeah. I guess it's just nice she decides to leave. We don't need to stay for the finals. But then we get a nice little hint, because when she's back at Miyagi-Do, or back at home, I guess not technically Miyagi-Do, it's just their dojo at home, we see, she's still got the moves. I do like that she kind of has like her own style. I mean, we saw it hinted at on when they have the date. It's more like a I don't know, like UFC, like the way she kind of like took Miguel down and shows these flips and punches. So she's ready to kick some ass. She's going to be very important to Miyagi-Do. I hope she never joins Cobra Kai, but I'd be heartbroken, but she probably will.
Yeah, everyone will eventually. So Johnny, after the fight, after the win, everyone's cheering. He has the trophy. Miguel even gives him the shout out. He sadly walks over to Daniel and Robbie, and he says that he's sorry to Robbie, which seems like what Robbie's needed to hear for a long time. And how do you read this whole interaction? Because it seems like Robbie's found, like, I guess, inner peace or whatever. Because he's like, "It's okay, Dad. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's not your fault." So yeah, I guess that's good. I guess because they seem fine, and the only one who's going through turmoil here is Johnny, which I guess is the thing, because he won, but he's not really a winner.
Yeah. I feel like it's played that Robbie has found peace, but he's not okay with his dad yet. But it's kind of like some of the I guess the thing they did halfway of him being a bad kid trying to get the revenge on his dad is not there. It's just like Daniel said, he let go of the anger and found a balance. So it's not like he's super upset that he lost.
Yeah, he's not gonna
mad about it.
And he's not going to rub the whole situation in his face. But I will also say that the only reason he did that was because he was like, "Fuck you, Dad." And like, in a way, he got exactly what he wanted, because his dad feels terrible now. So he has found inner peace, but he did do it by getting the revenge that he wanted. So I don't know.
It's like I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And in a way, how you know that's going to like cut to the bone way worse than just yelling at someone. Like, it's some real psychological warfare that Miyagi instilled in these men.
But yeah, especially because he's like, "Let's go, Mr. LaRusso," and he doesn't even like really talk to his dad, but he's not even mad, like you said. He's just like, "We're gonna go now. You have your moment. You go have your little moment."
And these, I mean, I don't know if it hasn't been called out too much by us, but these second place trophies are pretty dope. I mean, I understand that it's a bum out you get second place, but thinking about when Johnny got his and then Robbie's got his in the car here, they're still pretty dope trophies. It's not like they made them really small. It's almost like the same size as the first place. But I'm just saying there's not enough shout outs given to these second place trophies.
Yeah. I mean, the trophy place had like one size trophy, and we got some in silver and some in gold. And maybe next year we'll get some in blue just to spice things up. New trophies. You'll love the new trophies. So in the car, they have the talk, Daniel and Robbie, like I referenced at the start, and we've been talking about throughout that, it doesn't matter what it says on the trophy. You're still the winner on the inside. And Robbie mentions like, well, he got what he wanted. Cobra Kai is going to be back in the valley, which I guess, yeah, because within this subculture, they're the big thing right at now, I guess, because they did a good showing. And now Daniel's son, he lives up to his, this will never be over, by saying like, "Over my dead body." So he's let it go, but he still would be over his dead body that he saw Terry Silver's dream of a Cobra Kai dojo on every street corner like a Starbucks. Like, he still doesn't want that. So I don't know. I feel like it's a sort of in-between thing where he's got inner peace, but he also wants to say, "Fuck you."
It is, but I feel like it's coming from a place of not like...
balance.
Yes. Yeah. It's not a personal thing against Johnny per se, but it's just the idea of some of the values that Cobra Kai can instill. Yeah. I mean, and especially it's not like if he had maybe seen something different in the finals where they weren't injuring people and then preying on the, like, at the very least, you could maybe make an argument like, well, Daniel should start to realize like it's not what Cobra Kai he expected, but he's kind of saw a bit of what he expected, and he wants to, for the good of the youth of the Valley, there needs to be a Miyagi-Do out there to try to instill good values and good karate out there.
Hey, Jim, when they talk about the Valley, what does that mean?
Honestly, I've been thinking about this way too much, and honestly, I don't know.
What is a Valley girl? There's a valley in California, right? And that's what the valley they're talking about.
It's obviously like, I mean, I live in Las Vegas, and we're in the valley because we're surrounded by mountains. So I guess it has something to do with how, like, rich people, I know, at least from movies and TV, like, you live in Beverly Hills. You're up in the hills, and then the valley is where the poor people are. I mean, I assume Resita's in the valley. I did hear other people arguing about, like, the plausibility of if Daniel and Johnny would have gone to the same school. So people do get into these discussions because they're like, well, if Johnny lives up in blah, 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 and Daniel's in Reseda, they would not be in the same school district.
What is the Valley, California? I'm just like, this is the most important question. Yeah. It's San Fernando Valley is referred to as the Valley. Okay, well that solves that.
Yeah, because there are, like, I mean, obviously if you go through like LA and Hollywood and stuff, you can see all the hills and yeah, I assume the rich people are up in the hills. That's usually where you see like the nice big mansion, and that's why it is the Beverly Hills. And then the valley is just kind of like this flat city where you can look down upon all the poor people.
Yeah, but it's like being a valley girl. That's when you're a rich girl who talks weird.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know.
Okay, so it says it's the San Fernando Valley. So that's everyone in Southern California is complaining about that. That's the one. And then there's also the Central Valley, which is huge and more diverse. And then when it's about tech, obviously, when people talk about the Valley, they mean Silicon Valley. But I'm going to assume that's not a crossover we're going to see anytime soon. Yeah, important stuff. They get to Mr. Miyagi's house. We skipped over that bit to talk about this instead. Really emotional. It's great. I love it.
It's handled so well with the hint at the car, and then we got the music coming in, and you see the fences, the doors, and here we are, like, welcome to Miyagi-Do. Like, yeah, for as we've talked, obviously we've been gushing on this show all season. It comes together in such a great way to gear up for season 2 between the Miyagi-Do reveal, and as we're about to get to the Kreese reveal. It's logical steps, but they're handled so well, and you're amped up, gassed for the next season.
Yeah, and like you said, Kreese is back. Fuck Kreese. I don't want Kreese back. Like, it's so ominous, and it's so like, no, we don't want this, but it's just so in tune with the journey of the season that we were describing about Johnny finding his own sort of inner badass and learning he can be badass in different ways and reinterpreting, like when he went to the meeting and was badass by talking instead of fighting, and like him instilling these values in people but not quite being in control of what it is kind of like how people are casually homophobic when they call something gay and stuff like that, where they don't see it. They're like, nah, it doesn't mean that. It means this. But then these children, impressionable people, can take it on and make it mean something different. And like, it can be something negative to them. That's the sort of parallel I see anyway. Does that make sense at all? No,
it makes sense. It's also just kind of like, in the same way that if he was his biological father and trying to kind of get away from your roots, or to take a Sopranos thing, the putrid Sopranos gene, Kreese obviously has a huge power over Johnny, and we're starting to see him become his own man and get out from under that. And it's the worst possible timing for Kreese to show up. So of course, in a TV show, that's when he's going to show up. And I just love the idea of like, he immediately got word, like he's been laying in wait, hoping that Cobra Kai would win a championship, and he's like, "Oh, hell yeah, great, this is awesome."
Well, of course, he has a subscription to Karate Weekly, and there's going to be all sorts of news, or at least just subscribes to some Facebook groups about karate. You know, he's an old person, so he's on Facebook. And yeah, you would have seen immediately because he knows every winner of the All Valley tournament, and he knows they were banned, so they're never going to be back. But guess what? They're back. So is he.
Yes. Yep. So everything's in a nice spot. All the pieces are in place for season 2, and come along for the ride, people.
Yeah, thanks for coming along for the ride for season 1. We're obviously going to go through season 2 of Cobra Kai in a similar vein. If you have thoughts on the first or second season or any at all, we may, after we finish season 2, depending on if season 3 has been announced or released, we may do an episode with sort of feedback and thoughts from people. So if you have any thoughts on the show as a whole, send them along to showswhatyouknowshow@gmail.com, and it may get read out there on a future episode. You can, of course, also leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'd very much appreciate it. Even if you don't have an iPhone, you could just do it on apple.com. It's super simple. You just create an account, leave a review, and it'll help us out a lot. Beyond that, of course, showswhatyouknow.com is where you can find coverage of our other shows like Sopranos, like Jim mentioned, and a bunch of other things. Is there anything else, Jim?
There is one more thing that we have to get to.
Oh, what's that?
Strike first.
Strike hard. No mercy.